Hi everyone, welcome to Enjoy English School. I'm Steven.
Hi, 大家好，我是 Bernice 老师。
Today, our date is January 15th. We're on day 2 of book club with the pages 30 to 33. And we're continuing with For the Love of Bob.
我们一样今天呢来读这本好书，然后是在讲一个这个猫咪跟它的主人的故事。
The heartwarming story of a special street cat and his human.
对，这个非常感人的故事，就在讲这个猫咪跟它这个街头猫咪跟它的主人。
Right, so let's talk about that adjective, heartwarming. Okay, it makes your heart feel warm. Okay, just like in yesterday's lesson, we said the adjective moving. Okay, so the moving story of a special cat and his human. So these are just different ways to say
没错，很感人的。
All right, hopefully this has a happy ending.
没错，
I'm going to be very sad. Yeah, okay, let's find out more about Bob.
好啊。
James Bowen wrote the story that put him and Bob in the spotlight.
就是因为这本书，好 ，James Bowen 写的这个故事，好的这个书呢，让他呢跟这个 Bob 这一只猫咪呢，两个人都放在这个 spotlight， 就是讲那个聚光灯底下了。那既然大家都被那个灯这样子照着，那表示呢，你们两个是备受关注的意思。
Right, so first thing we have to pay attention to, wrote is the past tense of write. W-R-I-T-E. It's an irregular verb, and so we don't just put ed at the end, we change it to wrote. Okay, so he wrote this story and it put him and Bob in the spotlight. So putting someone in the spotlight means that it gets these people a lot of attention. Okay, they become famous. Okay, so let's continue. The book was adapted into a film in 2016, and Bob starred as himself.
好，那么这本书呢，因为它可能很受欢迎，大家都很爱看这本书，因此呢，它在2016年的时候就把它做了改编了。Be adapted into 就是把它这本书改编成为了一部电影，好，在2016年。那这时候呢 ，Bob 他本身呢就是这只猫咪，他就是当然在这个电影里面演他自己。
So adapted into a film. The noun form of adapt is adaptation. Okay, A-D-A-P-T-A-T-I-O-N, adaptation. Okay, so this book was an adaptation of, the film was an adaptation of the book, okay? And it was filmed in 2016. So 2016, you could also say 2016, okay? And Bob played himself or starred as himself. And both of these in Chinese
都是主演的意思。
对，还是饰演的意思都可以。So Bob, he got to play himself. They didn't get another cat. They used Bob himself. That's so cool.
对。
So he probably, do you think he knew he was acting?
Well, maybe I think so. 我觉得应该是吧，因为像这些动物啊，他们其实它都有一个感觉说，哦，我知道我今天在做什么。虽然他们不会讲话，但他们用他们的眼睛就可以告诉你了。
That's true. Following the publication of A Street Cat Named Bob, Bowen wrote 8 other books for children and adults inspired by the image and idea of Bob.
哇，这只猫呢，对于它的影响真的蛮大的。Following 这边就是指 after 之后呢，在这一本书就是这一个遇见街猫 Bob 这本书出版之后，所以 publication 是名词的出版。那么 Bowen 呢又写了另外的8本书，所以同学你可以看到用 other， 因为它是跟之前的那本书不算，好，就是这一本遇见街猫不包括在里面，所以又写了8本书。然后呢，这8本书特别就是针对一些小孩子啦，还有成人。然后呢，尤其是对于这个 Bob 这只猫咪的一些 image， 就是一些形象，还有它的这个 Bob 本身的这个想法跟概念，给这个做的一个鼓舞，所以他又写了8本书。
Right, so wrote 8 other books. So we know in total he wrote 9 books.
没错。
Right, 8 other books. And instead of other, you could also use the word more. He wrote 8 more books for children. So these both mean the same thing. Okay? These books have been translated into 40 languages, and some have topped book charts around the world.
所以非常非常受欢迎的这些书，那么他写的接下来的这些书，通通都被翻译了 被翻译，好，所以我们用 be translated， 那已经呢被翻译成40种不同的语言，然后呢，甚至其中有几本呢还曾经呢登上这个世界销售排行榜之首。我们知道这个 top 就是在最顶端的意思，所以就说登到 top the chart， 就是登到那个这个排行榜最上面的意思。
Right, so 如果你只是纯粹翻译，你可以只是讲 translate。但是如果是翻译到某一个语言的话，我们搭配的那个介系词是 into。
没错。
比如说你从中文翻译到英文是 Chinese translated into English。Okay, so here is translated into 40 languages. Make sure 40这个字跟14要做一个分辨。Okay，如果是40的话是 40，虽然它是 FORTY，这个 T 其实我们会念的比较像 D
的感觉。
对 40，OK， 很多人会念 40，OK，但其实这样子会很容易听成 14，
没错。
然后如果是要14的话是 14，后面是 TEEN，
没错。
So 14跟 40。Okay, so a lot of people get these two confused, but make sure 40 40你念成 4D 有个 D 的声音。Okay, and some have topped book charts around the world. So this verb top, it means to reach the top. Okay, so some have reached the top of book charts around the world. So what are charts? They're weekly listings of bestsellers. Okay, so every week we have a new chart. What book is selling the most? What book is selling second most, third most? So it has reached the top or has topped these book charts. Where? All around the world. So another word you can use for around the world is globally. Okay, GLOBALLY. Okay, globally. All right, let's take a short break.
好的。
Other aspects of Bowen's life with Bob have also grabbed headlines.
好，接下来呢就要讲到这一个男主角 Bowen 跟他的这只猫咪的其他的一些部分、一些方面。Aspect 就是指某些方面、某些层面。那么他的这个主人 Bowen 跟 Bob 跟这只猫咪其他的一些生活的部分，那么也同时呢抓到了这个 headline。同学，我们知道这个 headline 就是我们看那个新闻的最上面的那个大标题，那个新闻头版的那个标题。所以呢，这边我们讲到 grab 就是抓住了，所以所谓的 grab headline 就是指呢你占据了新闻版面。
Right, so here, other aspects, you could also say other parts of Bowen's life with Bob have also gotten a lot of attention. So why do we use the verb grab with headlines? It's because usually the news happens really fast. There's a lot of really big things happening right now. So a lot of times, a lot of different news segments, they want to get the article that everybody sees, and that is the headline, okay? Because then the reporter will get recognition for their story, right? So then it's kind of like a competition. They have to try to grab that spot, okay? Because only one person can be, or only one story can be the headline, okay? So this story of Bowen and Bob has been the headlines many times. Okay, so that means it's very, very important news that everybody cares about.
对，你看用那个 grab 的意思非常的生动，因为就像刚才 Stephen 老师讲，这个新闻呢，它不断的每天在更新，然后一下子可能这个新闻变很重要，或那个新闻，所以你要怎么样赶快 grab 住这个 headline 的机会，那这时候就是所以用到 grab 这个字。
Okay, and grab usually has like a little bit of a meaning like you're 抢的要去拿那种感觉。Okay. The two have spent recent years doing good deeds for social organizations in England that help the homeless and stray animals.
所以你看呢，他们也非常的这个善良，他们去做了一些事情。他们两个人呢，同时也花了在最近这个利用最近这几年的时间 ，spend 后面记得动词要接上 ing。他们花了近几年的时间呢，不断的在做一些什么？Good deeds 就是一些善行，好 ，good 就是好的 ，deed 就是一些行为，所以做一些善行，尤其是针对在英国的一些 social organizations， 就是一些这个社会的这些组织的团体，然后呢，并且他们要主要是帮助这个团体是什么团体，后面用一个 that 这个冠带好的这个片语来形容前面这一些团体，这些团体专门就是帮助一些无家可归的人，或者是 呢一些 stray animals， 就是一些街头流浪的动物。
Right. So here, pay attention to the word spent. Okay, the original present form of spent is spend, S-P-E-N-D. But if you do past tense, the D becomes a T.
没错。
Spent. Okay, so they spent recent years doing these really good deeds. Okay, and the last thing I want to talk about in this sentence is when we're talking about animals that don't have a home, you could say homeless animals, but we usually use the adjective stray animals to say an animal that doesn't have an owner. Okay, sometimes I even hear people say, and strays. Okay, they just add an S to talk about animals that don't have a home. Okay. Last year, everyone was happy to hear that Bowen found love with a woman named Monica. And so did Bob with Monica's cat, Pom-Pom.
哇 ，OK， 所以在去年的时候，好消息传出来咯，每个人都觉得哇，好高兴啊！因为是在去年，所以要记得那个 be 动词还是要用过去式。就是他们听说呢，这个 Bowen 呢，终于找到他一生中的挚爱。好，这个女人的名字呢叫做 Monica。那么这只猫咪也找到他一生的挚爱了 ，so did。好，这边用一个倒装句，这个 so 是一个副词，所以它倒装了。好。那同时呢，这个 Bob 这只猫咪也找到了他一生的挚爱，就是他找到了，刚好就是那个他的女主人啊，现在变成女主人 Monica， 她的猫咪叫做 Pom-Pom。Okay.
And also here, let's pay attention to be 动词 happy to 一个动词，就是很开心做某一个事情。
没错。
比如说在这里是大家很开心去做什么呢？就是听到这个好消息。But I could also say I am happy to help. OK， 我很开心，
我很乐意帮助你。
对，我很乐意帮到你。
没错。
OK， 所以这个就是也是一个 verb form, so happy to do something.
没错。
Right? And so not only did Bowen find love with a woman named Monica, so did Bob. Bob 也是有样子状况。And who did Bob fall in love with? Monica's cat, or Monica's pet. 他的宠物 pet 就是宠物 P-E-T. Pom-Pom. Wow, this is great news.
没错。
Right? So let's continue. The four all moved in together.
好啦，所以他们都彼此找到互相爱的人跟猫了，所以他们四个呢就一起搬进来一个地方，就大家一起住在一起了 ，move in 搬进去了。
Right, so when we say that someone is living with us, we'll say, oh, they are moving in with us. Okay, oh, she moved in last year. 她去年就搬来到我这里跟我一起住 move in with someone. Okay, all right, let's take a short break.
好的。
Bob recently passed away at the age of 14 after he was hit by a car near their home in Surrey, England.
好啦，刚才讲完了好消息了，他们都搬在一起，住在一起了。那么接下来呢 ，Bob 在最近呢刚刚过世了。我们讲 passed away 就是指他过世了，比较一个委婉的说法。那他那个时候的年龄呢是14岁，14岁对于猫咪来讲应该也算高龄了，对不对？在这个14岁的年龄，那个时候他发生什么事呢？就是他这个被车子撞了，那这时候呢撞的这个车子刚好就在他家附近，可能在附近散步的时候，不小心呢被这个经过的车子撞到了。那个地点呢是在英国萨里。
Right, so passed away 就像老师说是一个委婉的方式来讲。You could also just say Bob recently died. Okay, D-I-E-D. But that does sound a little bit more kind of straightforward. Passed away sounds a little bit better. And he died at the age of 14 after he was hit by a car. Okay, so 就是被车撞到。但是其实 usually when a cat gets hit by a car, it's run over by a car.
就是会碾过去这样子。
So we can also say he was run over by a car near their home in Surrey, England. So whenever we see a city and then a country, we'll put the city name first and then a comma and then the country.
对，所以国家名放最后，然后先放它的城市名称。
Yes. Oh, it's such a sad and
真的。
Yeah, they just found love.
对，
and then
刚刚开始要准备过最幸福的一个部分。
Yeah, so it's sad to hear this story, but let's continue.
好的。
It was tough for Bowen to accept the cruel reality that the friend who was at his side for so long was gone for good.
好，那当然对主人来说，这是一个非常 tough 的一个时期，就是觉得它非常的困难，非常的难以接受。OK，difficult，很困难去接受这个样子残酷的一个 cruel， 就是讲很残酷的一个 reality 这样的一个事实。什么样的事实呢？就是他的朋友，因为我们知道像 Pat 就跟你的忠诚的朋友是一样的。他的这位好朋友猫咪呢，最后呢是一直的 who was at his side， 因为他已经过世了，所以这边用的是过去式，就是曾经在他的身边待了这么长一段时间的这只猫咪，最后呢 has gone， 还是离开他了。For good， 这边的 for good 的意思是 forever，就是永远的离开他了，因为一个就是在天堂啦，那一个就在人世间了。
Right, so here let's look at the third word, tough. Okay, so even though it's T-O-U-G-H, it's pronounced like T-U-F-F. Okay, the G-H is pronounced like F. Tough for Bowen. So it's tough, it's difficult for Bowen to accept this really sad reality that his friend who was at his side or always beside him for so long. You could also say for a long time. But when you use for so long, sometimes we emphasize that so by making it longer, just to emphasize that it was a long time. 真的是很久的这个时间 was gone for good. Or like Bernice 老师说, you could say was gone forever. Okay? So this is just another way to say forever, for good. Although the little ginger cat is gone, his gifts will never be forgotten.
虽然呢，这只小猫咪、小橘猫呢，已经离开了人世间，那么它呢，对于大家留下来的 gifts， 这个 gifts， 当然我们可以指它原本是指一个礼物的意思，那这边就是指它留给大家的，不管是它的 image 啦，还是它的一些这个它的 heartwarming 的这些故事，它所留下来给大家的事情呢，永远都不会被遗忘的，所以用 forgotten 这个字，那一样像老师刚才讲，有2个 t 在中间，等一下听一下 Stephen 老师怎么念，会不会被忘记的。
Exactly. And then other than his heartwarming stories, and we could also say his inspirations will never be forgotten. The inspiration that he gave people. Inspiration in Chinese 是
启发灵感的意思。
没错, because the story is a very positive story, because Bob the cat really gave Bowen like a new life, you know, like he was addicted to drugs, and because he met the cat Bob, they helped each other and then had a very good life afterwards. Okay, so here like Bernice 老师刚有提到 forgotten， 我曾经有说过，就是如果一个字英文字中间如果有t 的话，我们很少会把它弄得很重的 t。比如说在这个句子就已经有2个字，第一个是 little。Okay，我们比较少会讲 little，OK，我们会 little 这样子，那个 t 舌头会稍微碰到牙齿门牙的后面，可是会往内收，然后会变成有点低的声音 little 那种感觉。然后 forgotten 我们比较不会讲 forgotten， 我们会讲 forgotten。对，就是那个舌头往前
有点弹回来，
对，这样 forgotten，然后 little 这样子。对，这是我们最自然的在念英文的时候，如果一个字中间有 t 那个声音，我们会比较不会那么的刻意把那个 t 念出来。All right, let's go to the review.
好的。
All right, Bernice 老师 what does it mean to be in the spotlight?
在聚光灯底下，就是表示备受关注的意思。
Okay, and what does it mean to translate from Chinese to English?
好，如果我们要把一个语言翻译成另外一种语言，这时候我们就会用到 translate into 另外一个语言。
And then if a book sells really well, it might top the book charts. So what does top the book charts mean?
对，当书呢卖得非常的畅销的书，它通常会跑到这个所谓的排行榜的最上面，所以就是表示到了这个最顶端的位置。
And if a story catches a lot of people's attentions, it might grab the headlines.
如果当一个故事呢，或者是发生的一件事情，让大家都吸引到大家的注意力，那这时候很有可能你就可以占据了新闻的头条。
So what is a good deed that you have done in your life?
A lot. 老师做了很多很多的善行，比如说大家都会说帮那个老婆婆过马 马路，不是，我都是去救狗狗。
Oh, that's nice. That is a very good deed. Okay, so in this story, Bob passed away. So what does that mean?
就是这只猫咪呢，到最后过世了。
It's a very cruel reality, but we have to accept it.
没错，有的时候呢，生命之中总是会发生这些残酷的事实，但是我们必须要去接受它。
Right, so even though Bob is gone for good, we will always remember him.
对，这个 for good 的意思就是 forever， 就是永远的离开了我们。
That's right. Okay, thank you guys so much for joining us the past 2 days. Hopefully you have been inspired by the story of Bob, and we'll see you guys next time.
好的，拜
拜。
第32页，好书俱乐部，有你的人生真美妙。
For the Love of Bob. James Bowen wrote the story that put him and Bob in the spotlight. The book was adapted into a film in 2016, and Bob starred as himself. Following the publication of A Street Cat Named Bob, Bowen wrote 8 other books for children and adults inspired by the image and idea of Bob. These books have been translated into 40 languages, and some have topped book charts around the world. Other aspects of Bowen's life with Bob have also grabbed headlines. The two have spent recent years doing good deeds for social organizations in England that help the homeless and stray animals. Last year, everyone was happy to hear that Bowen found love with a woman named Monica, and so did Bob with Monica's cat, Pom Pom. The 4 all moved in together. Bob recently passed away at the age of 14 after he was hit by a car near their home in Surrey, England. It was tough for Bowen to accept the cruel reality that the friend who was at his side for so long was gone for good. Although the little ginger cat is gone, his gifts will never be forgotten.